Don't forget, if you are losing your hair, no, of course it's not fun. I think that's what's worse. If you're thinning and you're balding and you haven't got there yet, and then someone takes a shot at you. Simon Miller, the bald a-hole here, and I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that anymore because I may have just sexually harassed myself. Now, if you haven't seen, I will just read you the headlines as I have them written down here. Calling a bald man is sexual harassment, employment tribunal rules. Now, I would like to thank everybody who sent this to me because that's hilarious. I am very proud and very honored that if you read a story about baldness, you go, I got to tell Simon. He's my go-to bald guy and he needs to be informed. And there is something quite nice about that, because when I did lose my hair, as we've talked about, it was a massive struggle, and then when the YouTube stuff was going okay, people would go after that, and I feel like we reclaimed it, and I feel like we've gone full circle, so I think that's cool. So let's go through it and then I'll give you my thoughts. Commenting on a man's baldness in the workplace is equivalent to remarking on the size of a woman's breast, a panel of 3 employment judges rule. I want to make it clear this comes from Sky News. It's not some kind of crazy website. The decision relates to a claim brought by Tony Finn against the West Yorkshire-based British Bung Company, where he worked as an electrician for 24 years and he got fired. He complained that he was the victim of sexual harassment due to comments made about his lack of hair, and this is where it gets interesting, including being called a bald C word. And if you know what that is, great. If you don't know, don't worry about it. Keep innocent. It's more important. By factory supervisor Jamie King during an argument. Describing the argument, Mr. Finn told the panel, I was working on a machine that I had to cover. The covers were taken off. When I spoke to him about it, he began to call me a stupid bald C-word, and he threatened to deck me. This is crazy. The argument with Mr. King, who was 30 years younger than Finn, left the claimant fearful for my personal safety, as it would do, and the 3-person tribunal, who I bet had no hair, led by Judge Jonathan Brain, was asked to rule whether calling someone bald is an insult or amounted to harassment. In our judgment, there is a connection between the word bald on one hand and the protected characteristics of sex on the other. So the company was right to do this. We're going to give him some money. So blah, 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 blah. We don't need the rest of it. You can understand. You can go and read it. Now, here are my thoughts. I really do think it comes down to the individual case. Like, if I saw you in the street and you came up to me and you called me a bald a-hole, but you did it in a nice, friendly way, given that I've been saying that, we would probably have a lovely chat and I would thank you for watching my videos and it would be a wonderful experience for us both. Hopefully. Maybe we hug. No, don't hug. That's always a bit too much, isn't it? We won't hug, but we'll do a mental hug and we'll probably do a fist bump or something like that. However, at the same time, it's different when it comes to the law, right? Because you need these things in place. So it does happen again. You can look back at previous cases and say, okay, well, this is what we said here, and we're going to say it again now because we're trying to have balance throughout the workplace, throughout life, essentially throughout the world. Obviously, this only pertains to the UK, but it's true. I can imagine that. Imagine being in any kind of office environment and being called a bald anything. I mean, the C word certainly doesn't help. But the interesting part to me, if I go back up to the top, is that they say commenting on a man's baldness in the workplace is equivalent to remarking on the size of a woman's breasts. Now, I guess the difficulty here, and I can only speak on this from one side because I am bald. Once more, if somebody was very, very aggressive and went after my hair, would I be offended? Would I be insulted? Would I be hurt? In the workplace, yes. Not necessarily because I have thin skin, but because I would be like, well, you can't say that. That's not cool. It's not my fault. I am bald. And even if I shave my head, that's my choice. Why has it even come into the conversation? But also, why is anyone being called the C word? I mean, that's on top of it. But when it comes to a women's breasts, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm always happy to be educated. But that kind of feels a little bit more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. It just feels a little bit more inappropriate, I suppose. And that's not going far enough. But again, I don't want to use the wrong word here. Because there is a sexual nature to that, especially if a man does it to a woman. Because I'm pretty sure that if a man commented on my hair or a woman commented on my hair, I would feel the same way. It's non-gender specific. But if all of a sudden we move to the groinal region and 2 people said it, maybe for me personally, the man wouldn't get me as much as the woman because obviously they come from different places. I mean, their point is the tribunal said that in a previous case, a man was found to have sexually harassed a woman by commenting on the size of her breast, stating that it is much more likely the person receiving a comment, such as that which was made in that case, would be female. Good sentence structure there. So too, it is much more likely that a person on the receiving end of a remark such as that made by Mr. King would be male. I mean, this actually ties into something we had recently with the Will Smith thing and Jada Pinkett Smith and her alopecia, etc. But they're saying more often than not, if you called someone a bald C word, it's probably going to be aimed at a man. That's where the sexual thing comes into it, because they're saying, okay, in 95% of these cases, it's probably going to be a dude. So we'll call it sexual, because again, it's in relation to sex. But you get lots of people who are bald. I'm not 100% sure it carries with it the same offense and the same badness. Let's not even muck around here. Let's keep it nice and simple. The same badness as going after a woman's breast. But ultimately, when you take all of this stuff, just don't be mean to people. And you can laugh about that, go, Simon, you're so naive. You're still in this little stupid world. And you're 100% correct by that. But let's say I'm really mad at this person. He's done a terrible job and I want to yell at him. I mean, you can argue whether that's a good management practice or not. You can just go, you stupid idiot. You absolute moron. You can say stuff like this. That's still quite offensive when you break it down. You stupid idiot. So idiot already means you're quite dumb. And now you're saying you're a stupid version. And I think really you just shouldn't go after personal traits. You just shouldn't. You don't know what people are going through in their lives. And sometimes we can hear things. I do it too, and then I make sure I check myself. But you'll read stories the equivalent of that when someone says, I was so hurt by this. You're like, really, were you? But if they were, they were. It doesn't mean that they're not overly sensitive. You get that, oh, that person was too overly sensitive. It shouldn't have happened. But you're allowed to be overly sensitive. It's not a bad thing. I mean, if it goes too far in one direction, sure, it's maybe something you've got to work on. But we are just human beings at the end of the day. We all have pros, we all have cons, we all have good points, and we all have flaws. And if one of yours is that you're a little bit too sensitive, wouldn't it be, we've talked about this before, I swear, wouldn't it be nice if everybody around you was like, oh, there's me, we'll use me. There's Simon, he's overly sensitive, so when you're around him, maybe just take a bit of care. And you can think, good grief, what kind of world are we living in? Or you can go, well, I'll just respect that person. Again, if you call them, I don't know, if you say, hey, can you go get me a coffee, friend? Like, don't you call me my friend? Then yeah, they got a problem. They need to go sort it out because there's nothing wrong with that. But I can completely understand if somebody is overly aggressive with someone or uses words like this, they may not like it. It would be much easier if we didn't have to go to a court system and we just knew this as a human race. So I guess what I'm saying is this makes no difference to my life. But again, it depends on the situation. If somebody really, really, really said it in an aggressive way, and I genuinely thought it affected my mental health, maybe I would raise it up to this level. I never want to say never because I don't want to be all like, oh, this is my thoughts on the matter. 100%, I'm never going to change. And in 6 years' time, I'm like, man, I regret saying that. And I secretly delete this video. But once it's out there because people remember what you say. And ultimately, I can't remember the guy's name now, but if he was upset by it and he lost his job over it and he felt like he deserved some compensation and a bunch of people have said, yes, you actually do deserve some compensation, then good for him. I mean, I don't think it's going to change anything. People will still call me a bald guy. Get it all the time. Still, even today, even though I call myself the bald a-hole, people say, oh, Millie, you're so stupid, you're so bald. I'm like, no, I've made it very clear that I have no hair. And don't forget, if you are losing your hair, no, of course it's not fun. I think that's what's worse. If you're thinning and you're balding and you haven't got there yet and then someone takes a shot at you, that can really throw you off your game. And I get it. In the grand scheme of things, is it important? No. Like if somebody knocked on my door right now, say, when did I lose my hair? Like 8 years ago, whenever it was. No, not even that long. About 8 years. 6, 7, 8 years. And said to me, I'm either going to give you some kind of disease that's going to kill you or you have to lose your hair. I would imagine 100% of people would say, well, I'm going to lose my hair. Thanks very much, because I still want to be alive. That's not how we exist as human beings. Sometimes things can just get us and it becomes relative to us in our own little bubbles. And baldness absolutely is one. Hence why today, oh my gosh, I'd still have hair if I'd started losing it today. There are so many options. You don't have to go to a doctor and you don't have to go to a special clinic. There are really reputable options out there, mostly on Instagram, advertising posts. So many advertisements for this. It is absolutely crazy. And people still go nuts about this too. I remember What Culture, the other place that I work for, they did some kind of sponsorship with a hair revival company. They said, Simon, for a joke, can you read the blurb? I was like, yeah, I thought it was quite funny. I didn't use it, but I was like, if you want to grow your hair back, go grow your hair back. You're literally hurting no one. Somebody got in touch with me. I mean, these are just crazy people on Twitter. And they were all like, Simon, how dare you support this horrific technique after you've said everything about bald people? It's like, I can have both opinions. I can say if you're going to lose your hair, embrace it, because once you do, it really doesn't bother you anymore. I never think about this. Gone are the days when I get another mirror, looking in one mirror, trying to look at my bald patch going, oh, I can't figure it out. But at the same time, if you go through all that, or you don't want to go through all that, and you want to regrow your hair using chemistry, do it. Do it. I would probably have done it. I tried everything. I did use the spray for a while. It did grow back. I remember I went on a work trip with someone. They said, Simon, what happened to your bald patch? And I was like, yes, but the problem was at the time I wasn't earning that much money and the upkeep was horrendous. Then I tried those protein kernels, whatever they were called, that you quite literally shook onto your head and they would attach to the ends of your roots or something. And it did work. But then I went out one day and again, the technology wasn't as good as it was today. And it rained. And I just had all this mush on my head. So I was like, eventually, you know what? I'm just going to shave it off. off. And the first time you shave it off is terrible. You wake up the next day, you look at yourself, you're like, who the hell is that guy? And you do feel a little bit down and you do feel a little bit depressed, but it's like everything. You get used to it and you just move on. But I don't have a problem with it either way. I think a lot of people are laughing at it because it is quite a funny headline, especially, I mean, on here. There's just a guy there's a bald guy. Just not even looking at the camera. And you could argue he shaves his head. And he's not even bald. But the thing is this, if we're just nice to everybody, we don't even get to this situation to begin with. You can be mad, you can yell, you can scream. That's part of the life that we're all living. But you don't need to comment on personal traits, be it baldness, breasts, somebody being fat, somebody being tall, somebody being short. Because 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to be dealing with it in their own way. That's just what we do. We all have hang-ups and we have to deal with them as best possible. And we don't need any outside influences trying to make them worse. But still, you can't call me bald anymore. I'll sue you for sexual harassment. Now, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe, and leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this. I'll be intrigued. Click the bell, ding, ding, so you know other weird videos are going live. Didn't even mention this is meant to be a fitness channel. Nope, talking about baldness. There will be another video on the screen. I put the bald one up there. It's going to be the Bald Fridays, we're going to call this. Got to be a better word. Can't think about it. Grillermind.com/Simon. You just go to Simon, get 10% off. If you go into More Plates, More Dates' vast amount of shops, he sells stuff to grow your hair back. That's what a lot of his videos are about, so you can use that as well. In Greg Doucette's Power 13 cookbook, none of those recipes are going to help you grow your hair back, but hopefully they help you with your diet. On Patreon, patreon.com/Simon316, which is also where we are housing Gym Fails currently, because the YouTube channel went nuts. We talked about it, but I'll keep reminding you just in case. On Instagram and Twitter, Simon316, where you can send me this kind of stuff. It's a joy to read. Cameo, I'm on there too, and simonmiller.bigcartel.com for merch. I think that's it. Thank you. I enjoy talking about this stuff. It's fun to have a platform. I appreciate you sending it to me. You have a good day. See you soon. Be bald.